Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and you're watching
Dante's
Boxing Nation.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? Boy, I tell you right now, it is amazing how things change, isn't it? There was a time when HBO was on such a high level that no other network could even come close to competing with HBO, including Showtime. I remember if you go back about 10, 15 years ago, there used to be fights on Showtime where the picture quality didn't look good and they didn't have the quality fights that HBO were putting on. But all of that has changed now. And now HBO, the biggest boxing network, according to Bob Arum, is running out of money. And because of that, Bob Arum has already set up a meeting with Showtime so that he can bring his fighters over there. Because Bobby believes HBO, they don't have the money to put fighters like Lomachenko or Tim Bradley on their network. I told you guys before, Bob Arum, he wanted to put together a really big card on HBO, regular HBO this year, and it would have been Nicholas Walters versus Lomachenko in the main event, and Victor Postal versus Adriana Granados, before, of course, Victor Postal lost to Crawford. But that was the card that Bob Arum wanted to put on HBO, but we didn't get that card because HBO could not afford to put that fight on the network. So now Bob Arum is following Floyd Mayweather's lead, and he's moving to Showtime. Let me go ahead and quote exactly what Bob Arum had to say about the matter. Quote, again, you have to understand, we've had a great relationship with HBO. We found them to be great partners and great people. But there comes a time when they run out of boxing or out of money. What choice do we have? In other words, if they can't afford my fighters and other people's fighters, then you have to look for other outlets. You know, a lot of us had already kind of known that HBO was running out of money and, you know, with the budget cuts and all. But when you hear Bob Arum just come straight out and really disclose the situation, it's still an eye-opener to me. And it's so ironic because it wasn't that long ago that decafs in the media, fans, etc., typical decafs, the way they do it, there are all these articles that it was PBC that was going broke, running out of money. Oh man, I mean, these fans were talking like Al Heyman was already riding on 4 flat tires, and it was just a matter of time before that vehicle comes to a halt. But while we heard all of these people say this, we find out that it's HBO that's quote unquote going broke, running out of money, according to Bob Arum, right? This just goes to show you, no matter how emotionally attached you are to the game, no matter how much you want to make up stuff just because you personally don't like someone, the truth will always come to light. And this is more proof of it right here. You know, it's funny, speaking of HBO, you know, I remember a conversation I had with Abel Sanchez a while ago. It was probably, I don't know, maybe almost 2 years ago. It was before Al Heyman announced the PBC series. And I remember Abel Sanchez, which is Gennady Golovkin's trainer, he said to me, he was like, look at how many fighters Al Heyman has signed. I mean, this guy has like 150 to 200 fighters. He was like, how is he going to get dates for all of those fighters? He said, it's impossible. It's impossible. All those fighters are going to end up just sitting on the shelves and not being able to fight because it's impossible to get dates for all of those fighters. Well, fast forward to present day, and we find out, Abel, there is no mission impossible when it comes to Al Heyman. Because what Al Heyman did when Abel Sanchez and many other people were trying to scratch their head and do the math, like, man, how are you going to get dates for all of these fighters? See, at this time, guys, you have to remember, this was before Al Heyman had signed deals with ESPN, Fox, NBC, Spike TV, Bounce TV, Fox Sports 1, and the list just goes on and on. Now, this is where the irony comes in. The fact that while Abel Sanchez and many other people were trying to figure out how Al Heyman was going to pull this off, while they were already expecting a lot of fighters to be sitting on the shelf and not be getting fights, why does it turn out that is exactly what's happening with HBO right now? Like Bob Arum just said, if you guys can't afford to put my guys on the network, I'm going to have to go somewhere else. Otherwise, my guys are just going to sit on a shelf. Or some of the big fights like Nicholas Walters versus Lomachenko is going to sit on a shelf. And you know the boxing fans don't want that, right? So this year has been really interesting when you look at the stark contrast of Showtime and PBC versus HBO and Top Rank. Or you can even add Golden Boy Promotions in there as well. When you look at the contrast of Showtime and PBC having their best year, while HBO, Top Rank are having their worst year. Now, I don't know if this is Bob Arum's worst year, but I know this is HBO's worst year. No doubt about it. I'm going to close with saying this. Once again, the ignorance that exists in the sport of boxing is unbelievable. And if there wasn't so much ignorance, it would actually help the sport grow even more. I've seen a couple comments whenever, we talk about any man on the coincidental list with power, that always comes with an enormous amount of hate. So, of course, when it comes to Al Heyman, it's so ironic that Al Heyman, he has nothing in common with Floyd Mayweather outside of them being the same color, but yet he receives the exact same type of hate. And see, this is why I call these ignorant fans decafs, dumb casual ass fans, because of the simple fact that they have so much hate in their heart that they are operating off of emotion and hate, right? They're not basing things off of logic. Therefore, they'll come out and say something or post something online, and they won't even be smart enough to know that they're telling on themselves. They're telling you exactly what this is all about, and they don't even realize it. For example, I've seen a couple fans in the comment section say stuff like, you're just a PBC fan. You're just a PBC lover. Now, see, this is my whole thing. I could understand if someone said something like, you're just a Laker fan. You're just a Golden State Warriors fan, right? I could understand if they said something like that. But why would you say someone is a PBC lover, which we understand the inclination when you say it? We know right away that when you say that, you're telling me you personally don't like this guy, right? And you're telling me that if I like him, there must be something wrong with me because I'm guilty by association, right? This is what you're calling me. When you say you're a PBC lover, I mean, when you really think about it, it's no different than calling someone like an N lover, right? An N-word lover. Oh, you're just an N-word lover. Because what that person is telling you, that they don't like that person. They don't like those people. But you do, so something is wrong with you. But this is how we know that this has never been about boxing. Because if you're a boxing fan, right, and you have someone that is giving you way more boxing than us boxing fans have ever had before, not only is this person giving us more boxing, but he's putting it on free TV, right? Not only is he putting fights on free TV, but he's putting the type of fights that you normally watch on HBO and Showtime on free TV, like Thurman versus Porter, which I was about to say was the most watched fight, which it was until Errol Spence versus Bundu became the most watched fight this year. So the point that I'm making is when you say, oh, you're just a PBC fan and trying to suggest that you don't want them to succeed, how are you a boxing fan? How is this about boxing? You're telling me you personally hate this man so much that even though you're a boxing fan and you want to see great fights on free TV, you just don't want to see it at the cost of this man on the coincidental list being the person that's pulling the strings. If that's the man that's getting credit for it, oh no, I'd rather see that man fail. I'd rather watch the whole ship sink just to drown that one person I can't stand. This is what these type of ignorant fans are basically saying when they say you're a PBC fan. Man, if you're a boxing fan, shouldn't we all be PBC fans? If Golden Boy Promotions was giving us fights like Canelo versus Golovkin, shouldn't we be happy about that, right? If Top Rank was giving us the best fights over and over, the fights that we really want to see, are you going to honestly tell me I shouldn't be a Top Rank fan? It doesn't make any sense, right? You see PBC putting together the fights that you want to watch as a boxing fan, and you still are hoping that the ship sinks? But yet, when it comes to HBO, you want to defend HBO. No, it shouldn't be that way. If you're a boxing fan, you're a boxing fan. All this other stuff has nothing to do with boxing. You personally not liking people on a coincidental list, that ain't no boxing talk. That's something personal inside of you. That's a problem that you have. It's a personal problem, right? I mean, to sit over here and say, I'm not a fan of PBC, because once again, that's what they're saying when they say, you're just a lover, you're just a PBC lover, right? For them to say something, we know exactly what they think about PBC. But my whole thing is, how can you say, oh, you're a PBC fan? What about all the fighters that fight on PBC? What about fighters like Leo Santa Cruz, who named his son after Al Heyman? What about trainers like Robert Garcia, who's saying, oh man, PBC is great, man. They treat my fighters better than any other promotion company, etc., etc. What about all these guys? What about Dana White saying, oh man, what Al Heyman is doing is great in the sport of boxing? Why are these people PBC fans? And how do you sit there on your couch watching a PBC card, but you still can't stand PBC? How does that make any sense? How does that make any sense? You know what, I'm gonna say this and I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. You don't ever hear black people say, oh, you must just be a fan of Top Rank. Oh, you must just be a fan. You're a Golden Boy lover. You're a Top Rank lover. Oh, you're just an HBO lover, aren't you? You never hear black people say stuff like that. So why do some of you decaf say stuff like that if you're a real boxing fan? I mean, that's like a bunch of people watching the news and they're looking at the Trayvon Martin case. And you have people like, oh my God, I can't believe what that grown man did to that child. I can't believe he just murdered him like that. And then you turn around and you say, oh, you must just be a Trayvon Martin fan, huh? Do you guys see how ignorant that sounds? That is exactly what you are saying and how it sounds when you say, oh, you're just a PBC fan. You're just a PBC fan. That is how ignorant you are and sound when you say something that damn ridiculous. No different than if I was getting heart surgery, right? And the surgery turned out to be a success. The doctor did a great job. And I say, man, that doctor, he did a wonderful job. And if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't be here today. So I really want to say thank you to Dr. Jones. And you hear me say that and you say, man, you just a fan of Dr. Jones, aren't you? You just a Dr. Jones lover, aren't you? Once again, man, I mean, I could use tons of examples and analogies, but I think you guys get the point. How do you say a person is liking someone who's doing something good for the sport that you're supposed to love? How do you turn that into a negative? Is that what you're going to pass down to your kids? Are you going to tell your kids that? Are you going to say, now don't you grow up being no PBC lover now? Because you know daddy don't like no damn PBC. So don't you grow up being no PBC lover, okay? At the end of the day, it was some of you decafs that were writing these articles praying for Al Heyman to fail when you're supposed to be a boxing fan. Now you have Bob Arum, who told me he would never work with Al Heyman. Now he's working with Al Heyman. Now you have Bob Arum moving over to Showtime. How quick things change. That's all I got for now. I'm on to the next one.
This is Bobby, and you're watching Dante's